So, welcome once again to Series 2 of In Conversation Super League Raw Style. And actually, this is a different one. It's the first official full-time referee. Aaron Moore is the first referee to be interviewed on In Conversation. Aaron, welcome to Super League Raw.
No, thanks for having me, David. Really appreciate you asking me to come on.
Well, absolutely. And believe you me, when we announced this last night on Weekly, a lot of our members were delighted that a referee was going to be on. Really looking forward to watching this one when it gets released. Right, as we do with all of our guests, we're going to settle you in nice and easy. So first things first, who's your favourite band, Aaron?
Favourite band?
Yes, mate.
It's a tricky one. I'm just going to go Oasis because I've got a ticket to go and watch them next year. So it's, I think I'll go Oasis on that one.
Did you get fleeced?
I did, to be honest, yeah.
Did you? Oh, well, there you go. So for all those referee haters out there, they're delighted. But obviously, you're clearly not. Your favourite song, then?
Favourite song? Gosh, you put me on the spot there. Bittersweet Symphony, The Verve.
Gee, great album. Great album as well. Your favourite film?
Favourite film? Probably Back to the Future.
Oh, mate. I went to watch that in the West End before the Challenge Cup final. Have you been seeing the West End one?
I went watching it as well, yeah.
Phenomenal, mate. I mean, talk about goosebumps on the back of your
perks of refereeing at London Broncos. You get to go and have the weekend there.
Top man. Oh. My favorite, Joe, what, mate? One of my top 3 favourite films of all time. So already we're getting on. If they made a film about Aaron Moore, who would play the lead role? Who would play you in a film?
Who would play me?
Yeah. Or who would you want to play you?
You put me on the spot again there. Who would I want to play me? Gosh, give me a second. Probably Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he'd be one of my favourites.
Fair enough. Let's be fair, we wouldn't want to be across from Kate Winslet. Right. Who's the better looking, Liam Moore or Aaron Moore?
No, that's really a question, that is it. You'd have to say Aaron Moore, wouldn't you?
Who's the better referee, Liam Moore, Aaron Moore?
I'm sure people have different opinions on that, but well, I'll have to back myself again on that one.
Man. Make sure you send him the first 5 minutes of In Conversation. And if he wants a right to reply, he can come on and all. What 3 words best describe Aaron Moore?
I'd probably say honest, a good mate, and resilient.
You need to be if you're a referee, no doubt about that. Your current TV box set, you'll have a bit of a chance to maybe watch a couple of them these next couple of months in between your training and what have you. What are you watching TV box set wise?
I'm back on watching Prison Break, the Netflix series. I watched it years ago, and then I've started watching that again. Grand Designs. I love watching stuff like that. Bake Off. A bit of a variation, really.
Fair enough. Do you do a bit of baking yourself?
Not really. My missus does, but I like eating all the cakes, though.
Does she? Any soggy bottoms in the Moore household, or is she pretty good in the kitchen?
Yeah, I'd say she's pretty good, to be fair.
You needed to say that. Right. What's a difficult one? We might get into this when we go through your younger life, but NRL. Who's Aaron Moore's team in the NRL?
But I don't want to get into saying about teams and supporting because I'm sure that'll cause controversy. I'll be honest with you. Again, I think it's from the refereeing in you. You just do focus on how the refs are doing over there. Love the Origin, watching all that. Love the games, but I don't have a team. And I know it sounds to some people again, oh, you're just kind of saying that, but no, I definitely just don't have a team really.
In terms of that, I mean, obviously Ashley Klein came over here for a period and then went back, and he's now revered over there. You're young man. We don't hear many officials, do we, going and doing the Southern Hemisphere? I mean, is that an ambition? I mean, would that be something that you'd love to go and do, refereeing the NRL?
I think it's a good question, really. We've been asked this, it gets asked quite frequently, really. To a lot of us, would you go over? And I think you see the weather over there, and some of the lads who's been over for the World Cup in 2017 said it was unbelievable. So if the question came, you'd always obviously consider, but yeah, I think it depends kind of where you're at really. Maybe I'd look into future, but personally for myself, it's establishing myself, over here like I've been doing really, and wanting to kind of achieve as much as possible here before I'd look into anything like that. But yeah, maybe some of the other boys, it might be on. We don't really see it much, do we? Where refs go over, but I know they've got a lot of competition over there as well, with it being the number one sport. So, but yeah, you never know in the future.
You never know. Just do what Kendall did at the weekend. Try and keep up with Bevan French. That might stand you in good stead, mate. You know what I mean? Right. Your rugby league hero in when you were a watcher, maybe as a younger lad. Who was your rugby league hero growing up?
Yeah, it's a good one again, really. I'd probably say Rob Burrow. The size of him. When I was playing when I was young, I weren't. I'm not the biggest bloke myself. So when you see someone who's 5'5", and putting himself about like he did, I just always had admiration, and then you look what he'd been through even more. It kind of just makes you think, what a great person he was, really.
Yeah, no, I think many people would concur with that one. As a referee, obviously, this isn't biased; it's just the way that it is. Please answer this one. You go to every Super League ground as a referee. Which generates the biggest buzz in terms of atmosphere? When you're on the pitch, do you have a moment in a certain stadium where you go, "Wow," because of the noise or whatever? Is there a moment where you've ever felt that way?
I think there's so many grounds which do it, and are brilliant for atmospheres. I'd probably say Hull KR was the best atmosphere I've had this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when Erasure comes on, it was really a really good atmosphere. So yeah, probably say that one this year was the best atmosphere.
You don't have to sing that one loud and proud, don't they? It comes across immense on the TV as well, doesn't it? In that respect, who's the best player that you've ever seen play the game? You said Rob Burrow from a hero perspective, but in terms of actual player, who's the best player that you've ever seen on the field of play?
Seen play the game.
Yeah.
Goodness me. Dear mate, it's a tricky one, that. I think I have to separate from a watching point of view live. Went watching Australia, New Zealand years ago at Old Trafford, and I'd probably say Cameron Smith.
Yeah.
Just for his evasion around the rope. Yeah, I think he'd have to be the one for me.
Yeah, what was interesting in the World Cup Challenge this year, we did a preview show for that, and not many people who watched the NRL knew just how good Dylan Edwards was. And my lord, did they realise that night what a player he is at fullback as well. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting when the guys come over here and people who don't watch the NRL see the Aussie lads. Some of them have just got incredible skills. There's no doubt. Right, who's the funniest player that you've reffed? Who's the one that maybe has given you a little chuckle, whether it be back chat or just the way in which they operate? Who's liable to give you a bit of a giggle on the pitch?
I think coming through, a good few years ago now, when he was kind of the back end, Danny Brough was a right character. Give you a bit, and which kind of makes you learn a lot as a ref, but also had a right joke as well. So yeah, Danny Brough was probably the one who I learnt quite a bit from coming through.
So was that all? Was that a bit of free advice that he gave you on a regular basis, I presume?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely reinforce some things to me, which you look back now and you have a bit of a laugh over.
We might have to do an after-hours version so the kids don't see it and actually ask you what he said, but we can't do that on this one. The kids watch. Right, last question, and then we'll get into you and your career. 3 dinner party guests, alive or dead. Who would you invite round for a 3-course meal with the missus? That bake-off coming to good use that your missus does. 3 dinner party guests. Who you inviting and why?
I probably have as the first one, Martin J. Fox. I said about Back to the Future.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a chat with him about his career, and loved his acting, and so he'd be the one for the first one. Obviously, he's still alive.
Yeah.
someone who's died. Trying to think who'd be. Probably John Lennon.
Nice.
Yeah, love the Beatles. So I think he'd be in there. And third one, we'll throw one out there. We'll go Winston Churchill.
Fair enough.
Something different.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, no, happy days. I mean, in terms of Jay Fox, I don't know if you've read his 2 memoirs.
I've not.
Go and get him. Because obviously the first one is very much about his acting career, going into his Parkinson's. And then the second one is about his Parkinson's journey. If you love Michael J. Fox, he was one of my childhood heroes. Those 2 books, outstanding. One's called Lucky Man, and I think the other one's No Time Like the Future or something like that. Go and get him. You'll love him. Right. Aaron, the obviously a full-time referee now in Super League, but it's been a long journey. Aaron Moore, the child, how did you get into the sport of rugby league? How did your love with the game begin?
Yeah, so it was at 7, started playing. Just, some of my friends going down to the rugby, parents thought I'd enjoy it, and I said, oh, can I go down with them? Ended up going playing amateur rugby, loved it, and it's something I stuck with kind of all the way through, really. From being 7 to 15, when scholarships started coming around, that's when kind of the professional journey I encountered. But yeah, from being 7 all the way amateur through, ended up signing a scholarship at Salford at 15. Did 2 years on the scholarship at Salford, captain in the team. Brilliant doing that. Ended up signing a 3-year contract with the academy. Did 2 years on the academy. Again, really enjoyed it. Some great coaches I worked under there. And then as I was doing my last year, it was a Kukash era of the academy scrapped. So I was one of the ones with a year left on my deal, but probably weren't ready at 18 to go first team. So I went out for a year on loan at North Wales. Did 2 years, did my year there on loan, and then ended up staying for another year at North Wales and did the 2 years. So at 18, 19, playing League One rugby, it was brilliant. And again, you learn an awful lot who you're around, and and it was brilliant. Some of my closest friends now were from North Wales. It was a great experience. But yeah, when I got to 20, about a month or 2 before I turned 21, I made the decision to leave playing to just become a referee. So,
just pivotal part of the game, mate. It's not just, but it's interesting as a player. Obviously, again, how many? I mean, I presume not every referee in Super League Championship Division have played the game. I'm guessing there. It's unlikely everybody's played the game. Certainly at that level, where we're talking, playing at North Wales, coming under Salford. That must be a massive advantage to you, having played the game at a good standard in terms of how you referee a game and understanding it from a player's point of view and what happens in the heat of battle.
Yeah, I think it certainly helps. There's certain things which early in my career, you've got to kind of get out of that playing aspect, because they are 2 different roles, and that's something you learn as you get more experience. But there's so many benefits as well, and when I've spoken to, different people who still play now and said, why don't you give it a go? That's what I've just said. What it can give you refereeing is massive. But yeah, and it's definitely a perk if you've played. I'd say that to anybody. It's a massive perk.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll get on to that in terms of why some kids out there might want to consider becoming a full-time referee. We might get into that a little bit later. Let's give a shout out to your amateur side. Who was your amateur side?
I had 2 sides actually. So Wigan St Cuthberts was for most of my career, and then I went to Clockface Miners for a year. So yeah, 2 great clubs who, really owe a lot to them both, really.
And have you got a photo in the club bar are a more former player. Are you revered in those clubs now?
I might have something on. I think there might be like a plaque in them both, but I've not been in the clubs for a while, so I'm not sure.
No. Fair enough. Well, I mean, anybody who's in the northwest of England, I'm sure if you played amateur level, those two names will mean something to you. Obviously, Cuthbert's not as famous maybe as Wigan St Pat's. They get a lot of applaudits, don't they? Get a lot of players going to Wigan from St Pat's.
Yeah, a pretty historic club, isn't it, for
Yeah.
producing youngsters? But yeah, that's where I ended up, and it was good.
Were they good games? Did you play St Pat's? Was there a bit of needling?
Yeah, growing up, you've always got them kind of derby games, and then the games against like your Blackbrooks and your Clock Faces, and then your Widnes Moorfields. Just so many good teams and talented youngsters, really. And it's really interesting now when I'm refereeing people and who I played against as a young one. It's so much since I finished. I'm refereeing people I've played with.
Go on, give them shout. Who are we talking about?
Matty Lees is my age, so played against him when he played at Rochdale Mayfield. Matty Ashton played at Rochdale Mayfield as well. Ollie Ashall-Bott played for Widnes Moorfield. Other clubs really. They're the ones which come to mind, but there's so many more as well. But it's funny, where people say, "Oh, is it hard when you've played against them?" And I say, "Well, not really, no, because I just think you get more respect."
Yeah, happy
Yeah.
days. Yeah, Ollie Ashall-Bott, the Toulouse man. Not heard that name for a while. He had a great season that year. They were very very nearly picked Warrington for relegation. He was a good little player. Ollie, to be fair, he played well that year. It has to be said. Right. Okay. So obviously you've made that decision. What position did you play?
Hooker half back was.
Fantastic, in the thick of it, magical stuff.
By the nose.
Yeah, well, no, it's not as bad as Stephens, mate. You got problems when you've got Ratchie's nose, bless him. So obviously, you've made that decision now to become a referee. Obviously, less hits, marvelous. Talk us through that. So becoming first of all, a qualified referee, because there'll be some kids out there who'll be thinking, what's all that about? So walk us through becoming a referee in the first instance.
Yeah, so the interesting thing was Liam, obviously, fellow colleague and Super referee and brother, when I just signed at Salford, said, "Oh, like they're doing a referees course. Why don't you give it a go to get better with the rules, Aaron? And it'll improve your game. And if you like it, you might want to do a couple of games, alongside." I said, "All right, then, yeah, I'll go and do it." Didn't have much expectation. Did it to improve, my rulings on the game, really, of knowledge. So I went down, did the course at 17, and then passed the course. And then it was only like a month or two after that I started going out doing under 11s, 12s games. It was weird at first, just because it's so different at the start, but then really enjoyed it after a bit. Got into doing both. Only a little bit when I was at Salford, but it was when I went to North Wales. North Wales were brilliant with me. That my commitment, and I kind of laugh now and think, and I don't know why they let me do it really, but they did. I refereed National Conference League every Saturday, and I played every Sunday for North Wales. So that's what I did for like a year and a half to 2 years of doing both. And it was always kind of like Ben Fairler was my coach at the time, saying, "Oh, come on, come and be a ref." I was like, "Oh, when it feels right." And then I'm having it where I'm being offered another year at North Wales. Then I got offered a year to go and play at Hunslet on my last year when I finished. So it was kind of like I still had opportunities to carry on playing. But yeah, in the end, gave it up just before I turned 21, and just never looked back. I just had the belief of that I could make it to be a Super League ref. You've got to have confidence in yourself, haven't you? And even though at the time some of my mates around me were saying, "Oh, why are you finishing?" and I didn't understand. Where now, they say, it was all worth it, really.
Yeah, absolutely, So, in terms of obviously, you like as a player, you do your apprenticeships, your amateur, and then you worked up to Salford. Then of course you're playing the likes of at North Wales. It's the same as a referee, isn't it? You start on park pitches. That's where you're learning your craft. Just on that, one thing that was wonderful about certainly my amateur days. I mean, you're a lot younger than me. The rugby league community at grassroots level is a special place. It's a community within a community, and it's always built on, for me anyway, back in the day, always built on a bedrock of respect, in terms of parents and club officials, etc. For me, there's still a massive difference if you go and watch young kids play football or young kids play rugby. The parents and people tend to be a lot more respectful at a rugby game than they do football. A lot of the Premier League chanting, the behaviour that you see on terraces in football tends to find its way at grassroots. And I know there's a bit of that at rugby. It's a long time since I've been playing amateur. How did you find that? Is rugby league at grassroots, from your perspective, still respectful to referees and to opposition officials and players?
I think that it's much better than football. Obviously, things happen in football, but I know there is still a big thing in rugby league where they're trying to cut down all the kind of abuse to young referees on the sidelines. It's it's more prominent probably than ever, and we say about trying to get more referees, and that's the big stumbling block really of the young kids getting thrown all the abuse at them when they're learning on the job like I did. You don't really want to carry it on when you're at that age. But there also is a lot of respectful clubs as well. And from my time, what I can remember, some are just so good, and the people on the side who were managing the touchlines were great. But yeah, unfortunately, there still is quite a few things which you see and hear about which aren't nice, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's not good. I mean, I was a football referee back in the day, and what people need to realise is that whereas Aaron being stewarded off of a hostile ground in Super League with security around him, etc. On park pitches, I had it where parents are walking over at full time, and it's a very lonely place as an official. We've got to be better than that because, like you say, it's a bad example for the kids. In the cold light of day, they probably regret it themselves for doing what they're doing. And of course, let's remember that without that referee, there wouldn't have been a game to begin with. And it's not like it's not as easy at park level, is it? As it perhaps is at Super League level in terms of the support you get.
No, I think most of the time you're on your own, aren't you? Yeah. Referee, and you've not got people with you on the line or anything like that. You just turn up and do the game, and it's nobody's there to kind of help you. But then you might have so many people who are giving you stick on the side. So, I think it's remembering as well, a lot of these are developing, or it might be people who just love rugby league who want to referee and give back to the game. So yeah, I just wish people could kind of remember that at times. But I do understand at times, like anything, there's heat of the moment on certain things, but it's doing it in the right way, isn't it?
Absolutely, Ben. Absolutely. So obviously, you've got your qualifications. You're making that switch over. Do you remember your first professional refereeing gig?
I do, yeah. First League One game was Hunslet v London Scholars. So yeah, that was the first one, and it was what was funny. It was the year after I'd finished playing in League One, so he went back to Hunslet, the team who'd offered me a contract to play that year, and then I was refereeing him. So it was Gary Thornton who'd offered me the deal. Saw me turn up and was like, "How are you, Aaron?" And yeah, it was a funny one, really.
Who won? Do you remember who won?
London Scholars won.
You remember the score?
I can't remember the score. I just
42-26, mate. 42-26 to London. There you go. Happy days.
Unbelievable.
There you go. But no, yeah. So you've made that breakthrough. That was 2019. It'd be 2 years, I think, until you made your Super League debut. Talk us through that. So you're now a professional referee. I think this will interest people that are listening to this. How are you schooled to that? How are you developed, educated up to Super League standards? So as an up and coming referee, you've started on parks. Talk us through the coaching of the referee. How do you get and what help did you get to become a Super League referee? Talk us through that journey.
Yeah, so every Wednesday you had your weekly sessions, which were your track nights. So we'd run every Wednesday as a group, and that this was with the Lancashire referees. You had Lancashire and Yorkshire, and then there was the Cumbria officials. So you all had your hubs of, and different coaches would run them. So the Lancashire sessions at the time, it was a bloke called Frank Tickle, who was a Grey One referee for years, who was in charge, the coach, and Liam Moore was one of the coaches as well, and them two ran it. You do your track session, then go inside and do all your education stuff of learning on new policies and going through different clips from that weekend of what the Super League officials were doing. And you'd all kind of speak around as a group what you thought, how you can improve. And that was a weekly thing every Wednesday. Then at Bradford, we had the monthly meetings where we'd meet up with like Phil Bentham and Steve Presley at the time, all the different coaches in the full-time group, and they kind of pass on all the messages of how I was doing. Then we'd train and do the physical side. So you'd have the once a week on a Wednesday, and then you'd have once a month working as a group. So you could always kind of try and impress in them sessions, really. And yeah, that's how we went about it. That's how it works.
So is that quite forensic? Is that like, so maybe a 50-50 call? You're reviewing like 50-50 calls and you're getting a consensus of opinion as to which way it should or could have gone?
Well, when you're doing League One games and Championship as well, you have a reviewer for each game. So I could have had, say, Steve Presley, who was one of the coaches at the time. He'd reviewed that Hunslet game, and you're going through call by call on how you've done, plus how you've managed the game and all the different traits. You do your review yourself, which takes about 3 or 4 hours a game. It still carries on now in Super League. You're doing these reviews, and that's where you go into the detail. The training sessions and the monthly meetings was kind of the message to the group. But when you're doing your game, that's where you can kind of pick into your game which areas you've done well and what they want you to improve on, and that carries on now for every game.
So back at Hunslet then, so you've got your review at the side of the pitch. Is that instant feedback or do you get it through the post? How does that work?
So it works is they put the game on the system, Hunslet, and then you'll access it on an app called Video Hub. Go on it, watch the game, and like I said, call by call, typing out our review sheet, send it to our coach, probably the Monday morning, and then you usually have it on a Wednesday, your review, and you go through the calls really. And that's an every week thing. Obviously for the full timers now, being a Super League ref, usually do it like the day after your review.
So in your infancy, yeah, as a referee, you're getting these reviews. I'm going to guess that, there might have been an odd game where you're reviewing yourself and your coach is reviewing it, and you're thinking, I've had a shocker here. Because you're probably more critical of yourself than your reviewer is of you, because that's the way we're built, isn't it? How does that affect you in terms of, because you talked about making that transition and your mate saying, what are you doing this for? Did you ever get to a point where you've watched a video review of yourself and gone, what am I doing? I'm never going to make it?
Yeah, and this is the thing again of people with referees thinking we're not accountable. When we watch every call back, there's no one more than ourselves who wants to get them calls right. So yeah, I've had them times where you've looked at a game back and you thought, oh, what am I thinking there? How have I come up with that? But that's how you learn. And I said to any of the young lads now who are coming through and reffing League One champ, you need to make mistakes. You need failures to improve, and that's how you learn and you become more resilient. When I said to you earlier about 3 things, one of them's resilient. Gosh, you have to be resilient to come through as a ref because you have so many stumbling blocks along the way. But yeah, your coach as well might then say, oh, it's been a disappointing game for you. And it's not great. It's not what you want to be. You want every game to go well, but that's what builds you as a ref.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Again, on that, do you know what? Forgive me. It's just popped into my head now. I can't remember who the referee was at the Saints League game, round 27. Trying to remember who that was. Might have been Chris Kendall. Was it Chris Kendall?
Saints.
Maybe. Saints League, round 27. Um, anyway, but on that, what springs to mind in that game is the knock on. There was a couple of decisions in that. There was a knock on given against Lee when Wellesby had a little tap of the ball. If that was you refereeing that game and you'd have give that as a knock on, they were right on the try line as well at the time. They were in a really good spot. How do you deal with that? So if that was you, let's say, forget it was the referee, they have to speak for themselves. Let's say that you were refereeing that game and you've called it exactly the same way in live play. How, when you're reviewing yourself on that, talk us through what Aaron Moore be thinking.
Again, when you're watching the game back, you probably come off it and think, well, that was a tight call. You know which ones are like a 50-50 or close. So you'd watch the game back. If you know a call's wrong when you're looking at it, again, I say about the experience and the more games you do, you'll learn to deal with it better. And it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it any nicer if you have got a call wrong. But that mentality of doing the games and understanding that you can't get everything right, it makes it easier.
Why I love the fact that you're on today. Yeah. And this is one for you, maybe go back to one of these Wednesday meetings. I don't know. You're a human being. And I think if referees did more of this, actually, it might improve the relationship between referees and supporters. I think referees, don't get me wrong, I do find it funny you've got a heritage number. I'll just say that to you straight away. I find that really funny that the referees get heritage numbers. I'd love to see the queue for the replica ref ship. Anyway, that's another story. That's just me having a bit of a jibe. But yeah, I do find that quite humorous. But I think if you did more of this as a fraternity, and not just that, spoke like you're doing now, you're going to get things wrong. And I think for me to come up and just go, do you know what, I've got that one wrong. I think Robert Hicks talks about the St. Helens Warrington Challenge Cup final in terms of the try that he disallowed without going to the video ref as one of his biggest regrets. Now, that's a long time lost, but I just think if you did more of this type of stuff, you, the person, your career, what's got you where you are, and this understanding that we're getting from you today about what it takes to be a referee and the fallout from games and decisions. Do you think that could, I don't know why more referees don't do it. It's great that you're doing it today. Do you think that could improve referee support relationships and actually reduce the abuse that you get on the field?
Maybe so, David. It's obviously, we're always in the firing line, aren't we? Of, we're an easy person to blame, if things aren't going team's way, and we understand that. All I know is that the group I'm working with, what a great group of people, and how passionate we are about the game. I think at times people don't realise how much we love it and how much we love the sport, and that's why we do it. So you've got to kind of take it on the chin that you're going to get, cop the abuse sometimes, but how lucky we are to work in a sport we love. I think people, it's realising that we are human as well, and we are going to make mistakes, but yeah, the openness and stuff, it's hard sometimes because we're all kind of so busy here, there and everywhere with games. But yeah, I do think it's good when you can be honest as well, really.
I think it's brilliant, mate, what you're doing today. Really do. So we talked about your meetings. You've got your monthly meetings that still happen. You've got your Wednesday where you come together and debate each other's games and spread some good knowledge and to get a bit of clarity on moving forward. What else do you do during the week? So that's 2 minutes. People are thinking, all right, so he's ran around for 80 minutes, maybe 60, maybe 160 if he's done the line one week as well. He's now gone into a meeting for a few hours and done a bit of running on a track with his mates. Now, he's having one meeting a month. Got to be more to full-time refereeing than that, Aaron.
So what I've explained there is what a part-time ref does.
Give us the full-time then.
So the full-time group, again, do every games at a weekend, but you're in on a Monday. And so I'll set off at 6:30 on a Monday to the Etihad, to Manchester, where we're based. And we'll swim first thing at the leisure centre around the corner. We'll start at 7:30 in the pool. and do 7:30 till about 8:15, doing our recovery swim. In the off season, we do a harder swim, but in season, it's kind of just recovering after the weekend, and then get over. We have to be over at the Etihad by 9 o'clock after the swim, and that's when everything starts. Of we do our we have our psychology meetings into pre-ab rehab. We're doing our stretches into gym, and then we finish with massage, which we're really lucky, to have all of that, and all of that takes you up until 12. Have your lunch, 12 to 1, and that's when at 1 o'clock you do your one-to-one reviews with your coach from your game at the weekend. And that could be from half an hour to an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what's been in the game. And then usually finish on a Monday a bit earlier, about 3, because you've got to travel home then as well with the traffic, what have you. Then Tuesday's usually the longer day, where again we go in for set up at 6:30, get into the office, and then we train 9 till about 10, 10 on the field. That's when we do our field session, where we're doing a lot of your MAS running, kind of coordination drills of like trying to get your mind thinking. So yeah, do that 9 till 10 on the field, and then we'll go in the gym from, I'd say, 11 till 12 it usually is. Then have your lunch, and then we do our group review. Rather than when we at 1 o'clock on a Monday, you do your one-to-one with your coach. On the Tuesday from 1 o'clock, you do your group review. So we all meet up. We've got like Phil takes the meeting, and we go through how the weekend's gone, and all kind of looking at each other's games and the key clips from the games of what we want to work on, things we could have done better. And then reviews usually are probably a minimum of an hour and a half to 2 hours. And really good, the group reviews, it's done in the right way, but everyone voices their opinions on it all as well. Yeah,
Superb.
a bit there, but yeah, that's
no.
On a Monday, Tuesday, and then we train on a Thursday, that physical training, and then at the weekend you do 2 games a week. So it could be in France that weekend, or could be Warrington on the Friday, Hull on the Saturday. We always do 2 games a weekend.
So Wednesday, Sundays, unless you've got a game, so you get 2 days off a week, do you?
About 2 days off a week.
2 days off a week, yeah. And is it always? I mean, and when you say 2 games, I mean obviously that can be a mixture of reffing, video reffing, and line, yeah.
Yeah. So them are the 3 predominantly roles. You might reserve as well, but if you're a full-time ref, it's usually just them 3.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Fantastic. So let's get into the social media element of it. Of course, you're on social media, on LinkedIn. That's how me and you got in touch. We've talked about what goes on in the stadium. And I think, we both agree in the heat of the moment, things happen in the stadium. We'd like to think it's done respectfully. I know that sometimes that won't be the case. But once the game's over, it's over. Have you ever had much trolling on social media, or have you been quite fortunate in that respect?
No, I think every ref would say, we've all had it. The death threat last year, which again, it's I try not to read it, and I know most people would say that, but I don't. That death threat I didn't see. I only saw it when I think Love Rugby League put out a thing a couple of days later saying, death threat taken down from myself. So it's stuff like that. It's not the nicest, and I always say, you can take, the kind of the jokey side of stuff where people are having a laugh. We get that, but yeah, you can take it a bit too far. And you probably saw when the full-time refs a couple of months ago did a video. There's far worse ones. Some of the other lads in the group get compared to what I've had there, but yeah, it's still not acceptable, really.
No, I think I want to reiterate that a death threat to a rugby league referee. I mean, it's just scandalous, guys. And for those supporters out there, I'd like to think that our community would never do something like that. But that's just unacceptable. Without officials, love them, hate them, whatever you do, they're a human being. They've got a family at home. Should their kids, should their wives be reading such things, even though they're idle threats? We know the keyboard warriors. It's not the point. Shouldn't be happening. Right. Okay. Let's get into some more juicy stuff then. We spoke briefly about this before we came on air. Try, no try decisions on the field. I think you're on a hiding to nothing as a referee with regards to these ones. We've already said 50-50 calls, good luck, flip a coin, and you've got to make an instant decision. How comfortable are you in that situation? Try, no try. I mean, have you ever? I mean, you must doubt yourself, surely, at times. Isn't it? What goes through your mind in that when you start to doubt yourself on the field?
No, for a number of years now, we've had the no try, try on the on-field call. So you get used to it and how it all works. So yeah, I'm pretty, you understand how it all works now. At first, it was different. You understand, like anything with certain laws, it's going to cause, controversy with people thinking it's no try, people thinking it's try. You're going to have that to it. But that's just what it can cause. But no, I'm all right with it personally. But it'll be interesting, kind of, over the next couple of years. Obviously, all rule changes happen. If it stays in or if it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think the membership pretty much feel as if you either give a try or you send it up for the referee, the video ref, to rule on. Because, like I said before we came on, you've got one set of eyes. They've got 8, maybe 9 different camera angles. So I think for me, again, in the stadium, which, let's be fair, it's easy for somebody let's say it's not easy for somebody to make a decision over there at is it Winslow? It's Winslow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're miles away from the pressure cooker of the stadium. I think if you was to give it up, I don't know. I think you'll probably still get it in the ear a little bit if it's given as a try and people still think it's not, or vice versa. But that decision's been not in the stadium. You haven't given a call. So I think, again, to take you a little bit out of the firing line, if that decision's made elsewhere, who knows, could be of a benefit. I've got to ask you this. What's your, in the same token of Robert Hicks says his biggest error, biggest regret in his refereeing career was Wembley, Warrington Saints. What's your biggest one at the minute? I mean, you don't have to mention the game or the team, but what decision have you made where you've come off, reviewed it, and gone, "Oh my God, what a shocker"?
Probably on foul play stuff when you've missed certain late hits, and then the match review end up coming with a grade D or a grade E, and you've not even penalised it because you just go in with the ball and you've just missed the contact. Things like that in the past where you think I've just missed that, and you watch it back on the footage and think, I've just gone with the ball there and I've not had my peripheral vision. So yeah, missing when someone's been cleaned out, it's not a good feeling.
On that though, are the touch? I mean, of course, you would be a touch judge, but of course, not all of the touch judges are full-time referees. Are the touch judges scrutinised in that situation as well? Because you said about your peripheral vision. Where's the touch judges coming on these feedback sessions, and what type of accountability do they have?
Yeah, I think people, again, with touch judges think, you hear sometimes, what are they doing and stuff, but they don't realise that we're always conned up in the game. They're constantly talking to us about players who are going early on the 10 metres, talking to players on the edges to get back. They're feeding back at stoppages how it's looking, kind of thing. But also, they've just so much to do as well with kick chases, then the ball near touch, so many close ones. So, yeah, people don't realise what goes into being a touch judge, but and plus with late hits and things like that, they've got a massive they have a massive impact on. Sometimes as refs we might miss them and they pick them up for us. So they do more than what a lot of people give them credit for, really.
In terms of, I've asked you what your biggest error was, so it's only right that I balance it up. What was what have you had a moment where you've looked at someone and gone, "Go on, lad, that was that I nailed that." One of those where you think, if 10 referees referee this game, and maybe 1, maybe 2 that picked that one up. That was a moment of genius.
I suppose you're not used to praising yourself much as a ref. You're always used to just looking back at if you've made an error or not sometimes, rather than looking for the things you've done well. things I've done well. Calls. It's hard to just kind of go on one call as a ref because you're expected to get them right. That's your job. You're a decision maker and you're expected to get them all right. I suppose for me, it's just kind of coming off games and thinking, I can't think of anything which I've got wrong today. Which, you have certain games this year I've had, especially where you think, you know what, I think I've really, I can't think of anything I've got wrong there. Which, is the ultimate aim as a ref. And I've had a couple of them games, which has been nice this year.
Fair play. Now, of course, we've also talked about rules. You're there to carry out the letter of the law. We know that the rules, they're not ambiguous. They're set in stone. This is how you've got to referee a game. We've had a few instances this year. The new Brown one at Warrington with Ben Curry rings true. We've also had one this weekend in the grand final, the Petter Hiku one, that did get sent to tribunal. Thank God common sense prevailed on that one. As a referee, are there times where you're giving a decision, but again, going back to your rugby league background, playing the game, where you're thinking, I've got to give this, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I've got to give it because that's the rule. But in the back of my mind, I'm just hoping and praying that this isn't carried through.
I think for us, and especially in the off season last year, you get told what the new protocols are. And where we're going with things. And at first, like anything, it's new. Some things you're thinking, oh, how's this going to go? How's the public going to perceive this? Which I think is only natural. But then when you get into in season, it's happening. You've just got to do your job, what's been set out. I don't think it's when I'm on the games. It was pre any games happening, thinking, oh, I wonder how this will go down. But once you're on that field, you've got a job to do, and yeah, it's just all eyes on making sure for us that we follow what was set.
I mean, that Hickey one at the weekend, my concern, obviously he stayed on the field. I just question who thought that was a tribunal one, because it's a brutal sport. We need to look after each other. At no point has Hickey grabbed him by the shirt and tried to pull him off the ground. I thought it was a genuine, as he swallowed his tongue, what's happened? He just moved his arm. Field isn't even worried. I mean, he's ready to play the ball. He's focusing on the next play. Whereas Hickey, to be fair to him, stood over the player, just lifted the arm, and actually, I think it was Hickey who waved the official on. I mean, I don't know what you could say on that, but as fans, I think we were talking about this last night on Weekly. Just don't understand how that can go to tribunal. For me, even at first glance, Hiku's concern was for the player.
Well, I think obviously he's ended up having it overturned. Yeah. From our end, we're all about kind of player safety and that's paramount for us as refs. But also, you just want everything to be right, and obviously the discipline is deemed that Hiku's done nothing wrong. So that's obviously on their side of things. We don't really have much into that.
I thought Kendall had a good game. One of your colleagues, when you consider all the controversy of this year, nobody is talking about Chris Kendall. So as a refereeing community, that must be a bit of a bonus.
Absolutely, because, most games, you always have talking points and there's always going to be that happening, isn't there? But no, I thought Chris refereed the game really well. And he's a good bloke to his experience and having around the group. He's been a big help for me. And yeah, I thought he did a great job. Obviously, massive game, big attendance, a lot on the game, first 3 seconds. So I'm just glad, that it came all good for him, really.
Well, he needs to be having good games because he's got a young Aaron Moore chasing him down for the big ones, hasn't he? What I would say, well, let's finish this with a couple of interesting ones. Right, statistically, I mean, if you watch our programs, we use our eyes, but we also like a stat to back up what we're thinking. In the refereeing community, these meetings that you have, I'm really interested. Is it documented? Are you coached through how many tries you've given on field that perhaps weren't tries? How many that you've sent up that you could have given as a try that they've expected you to give as a try? Did he get into that level of detail where there's like almost not necessarily competing against your peers, but for you and your feedback, key KPIs that they give you?
I think those kind of stats are recorded and kept, but when it comes to the group reviews, it's more on a general how the weekend's gone for us as a group, and looking at the key things of where we think we could all improve for the week after, or if they're like, or the main kind of talking points really. But yeah, the individual stuff that's kind of discussed with you one-on-one.
So you get that?
Yeah, probably not into that kind of detail as exactly, but they can kind of tell you obviously how your accuracy in games and things like that, which is pretty good.
Superb. And of course, we're going to get into a couple of areas now, because this could get into even more scrutiny next year, or certainly more feedback. Captain's Challenge, that is being rumoured that it's coming in 2025. We see how this works in the NRL, and we expect decisions to be overturned. Again, we go back to that human element for you. You're not going to get them all right. So sometimes you're going to lose, your decision will be overturned by Captain's Challenge. Happy days. What's your thoughts on that as a referee, Captain's Challenge coming in?
Again, watched NRL the last, I've always watched NRL in the last couple of years. They brought it in, haven't they? And I think in obviously so many scenarios, it works well. For us at first, and what people have to understand is it's going to be new. It'll be new for our game, but if it does come in, I'm sure we'll find out over the next couple of months if it does or doesn't. As long as it helps the game and ultimately helps us as well, because like I've said, some calls, they're not easy live. You've got split second to make it, and I think it can only be a good thing for the game going forward if it does come in, really.
We've had a couple of questions come in. I've already asked you a few off Craig Thorpe, one of our members. We also had Sally Ann ask a question of us, but I'll ask it to you as the referee. Sally Ann's new to the sport. She's only been watching it for a year. And her question is, when a referee shouts dominant, what does that mean?
So it means when it's a defensive win, of if that defender has driven the player back and they've gone on the back, that defender's allowed longer on the tackle. So yeah, when we call dominant, they get a little bit longer because they've won the ruck.
Superb, exactly what we said, so we were right. Fantastic. But on that, I think this is another thing. Lying on. There's this, again, this is the beauty about having a referee on. What constitutes a penalty in the manner? I mean, is there an unwritten rule in terms of seconds that a player is allowed? I mean, we've explained dominant. So dominant, how many seconds are you giving for a dominant tackle before you would expect that player to get back onto the feet? And in a normal ruck, in your mind as your referee, have you got like a counter going on in your head that once they reach a certain count, sorry, I'm giving a penalty?
It's based on feel, really. So, if a team early on, someone might try to slow the ruck down, you'll probably get vocab in and say, Tom, I want it quicker in the ruck, because you think they're trying to go slow earlier. So you send the message out and you warn them. And then if it happens again, that's when you think, well, I've just warned them and I've got another slow ruck here. And that's when you set restart. And throughout the game, you're trying to manage and make the game as quick as possible and a good spectacle. And it's just making sure that you keep it quick. So it's all on feel. There's no kind of like set seconds, because you can't, in a game when you've got your tackle count and you're talking to players, you can't go 1, 2, 3, or they've been 3 seconds, it's too slow. You just kind of know. And as people would watching, if it's a slow ruck or not most of the time.
So you mentioned feel there. We talked about atmospheres in certain stadiums. Does that, as a referee, again, you're only human, is the crowd playing a part in that?
No, again, you're always going to have it where you've got big crowds and stuff, and it's going to happen at times. But for us, it's sticking to our process, really, of what is a set restart and what isn't. And it's hard to just kind of explain what is and what isn't, because every game's different, and every game has different speeds as well.
Video refereeing, let's go there. Why does it take us so long to get to a decision when it takes the NRL half the time?
Again, I think it's I can't really say. I think some of the NRL decisions can take time as well. You might watch watch it more than me, a lot of the NRL games, and they might be really quick. I'm not too sure. I only watch one game a week. But I think the crowd and everyone over here and the fans, they want us to get the right calls. And sometimes, our footage probably isn't to the standard of what the bunkers might be, with the controlling it all themselves and really good replay. So for us, we might have to take that bit extra at times. But also, it's new for us as well this year that we've been controlling a lot of it ourselves, where for a number of years they've been doing it themselves. So again, I think that can have a bit of a thing to it. But we can't just rush decisions when I know some people at times think, oh, it's an easy one, because you can always go too quick on something and you don't look at an angle, and it shows that you've got the wrong call, if you get me.
I do, but we're all video refs, all of us, because we're seeing what you're seeing. Yeah. And what I hear, and I've got a lot of sympathy for, and I myself would say this to you as well, the amount of times I see a video ref decision where probably within 45 seconds, that's a try, that's a no try, and that's the decision that's eventually given. Why, when there is an angle that shows a try or a no try, do we then go to another 4 to confirm it? Why, in the same spirit, is if you're given a try on the field, back in the day before video refs, you would give a split-second decision. Whoever's in the video ref spot, if they see an angle that suggests to them, try, no try, why? Because I think this is the big difference between us and the NRL. The NRL are very quick to back themselves and go, right, that's enough. Don't need to see any more. Try, no try, whatever. There was a knock on in the grand final on the Captain's Challenge. They reviewed it once. Didn't go any other angles. First angle, but yeah, clearly see, let's get on with the game. Why do we go to that 3rd, 4th, 5th? I mean, some of our video ref decisions, I think we've had games this year where they've been over 3 minutes. And I'm not seeing an NRL video ref take longer than, I'll be generous here and say, a minute and a half. Why are we taking so long?
I think it's just, for us, it's making sure we tire at all the angles so we've not missed anything. And I think that's where, for the NRL guys, they might think, oh, that look, we don't have to look at anything else, where we're on the side of, well, that other angle might show us something different. So that's why we look at more. And some people might agree with that, some people might disagree, but that's where we're at, really.
Well, it's a huge frustration. Take that into one of your meetings. It might not get anywhere, but, on behalf of us guys, we do want quicker decisions. I mean, I won't even go to the check he's in touch and he's a good meter inside. That one always baffles us all. When you check that he's not getting to touch, and then they do the replay, there's about a meter inside and the linesman's right there. I don't expect you to comment on that, but dear God, what on earth is going on there? Anyway, that's by the by, innit? That's by the by. For yourself, obviously, I know you've refereed internationally. I know you've I think it was Ghana. Did you go to Ghana?
I did, yeah. It was around 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This time, so yeah, I've got another one coming up as well, which will be good.
Where's that?
France. So France v Wales.
Superb. When's that?
That'll be good. That is on the 26th of October.
Which stadium's that
in? It's in Perpignan, so it might be either at the Dragons or Saint Estève. I think one round the corner. So I think it's there. Yeah, one of them two.
Sure, you're going to reward yourself with a nice steak and a bit of wine after that one. Is what I would say. Obviously, for you, the pinnacle's got to be the big ones. It has to be. I mean, the World Cup in Australia, down in the Southern Hemisphere, you'd love a call up for that, I'm sure. Challenge Cup finals, Grand finals. You're going to back yourself. You have to back yourself. How much would it mean to you to follow in? I mean, because I'm sure there's always a little bit. I've got a brother myself. I'm sure you get wound up by Liam. I'm sure you do. How important would it be for you to get the top gig in those games?
Absolutely. I think for us all, you're in the game because you love it, but you want to have top honours as well. And yeah, it'd be a massive honour, but you understand that there's a process to it all. You trust the process of, the games you're doing, and you understand you've got to keep doing big games and working hard towards them goals. But yeah, definitely in the future, it'd be a great thing to happen.
Would Challenge Cup be first? Is there like a protocol to get to the dance? Would Challenge Cup come first? Do you think? I've never actually looked at that. Actually, who is there an order to it?
Not really, no.
No.
I know some of the lads who's done Challenge Cup and finals. Some's that done a grand final first, and some's done a Challenge Cup final first. I just think it's when the staff think you're ready, really, and when you're performing the best. But yeah, for me, it's just that I have high standards of myself. Really passionate and dedicated. Obviously, you've got to be dedicated in this sport because we do so many games a week, and obviously every weekend you're out as well. So when your partner or family might be Monday to Friday, we're out over the weekend. So you do dedicate so much. So yeah, them special honours. It's yeah, I think everyone wants them in the future.
Well, I think on behalf of everybody who watches our show, like I say, and this isn't just because you've agreed to come on, we've been saying this all season. We believe if we had a referee of the season, it was you. We've all said that we think the way you've conducted yourself this year, you have been somebody that, from a refereeing perspective, has really caught the eye. I think this year, I think you've done a really, really good job, mate. And I think if you carry on going the way you're going, you'll be catching Big Brother up very. Is he Big Brother? I presume he's Big Brother.
He is, yeah.
He is. You'll be catching Big Brother up very, very soon. We normally go out with the odd time 1 to 13. You're a referee, and it'd be wrong, I think, to do that with yourself at this stage. Maybe when you retire, we get you back on and you can do an odd time 1 to 13 rugby league players. But what I will ask you is this: in closing, 2 final questions. Okay, well, actually 3. As a referee, at this moment in time in your career, which game sticks out in your mind as the one that you think I was made up to be a part of that one? That was a great game for me to be in the middle
of. This year I've done many really good games I've enjoyed. But probably my favourite game to referee was probably Hull KR Warrington earlier in the season.
The one at Craven Park, or the one at
Craven Park.
Yeah, good game.
I think it was 2 points in it, and it was just a great game. I came off it thinking such a good standard, and it didn't surprise me that both them clubs ended up being in the semi-final the other week, with the standard of how that was after round 4 or 5, because of the standard was just great then, and obviously again being a semi-final later on, it's a credit to both them clubs, really.
Yeah, I mean that was considering that was round 4, that was a hell of a standard, wasn't it? That game, it was a real ding dong, wasn't it?
Just such a quick game, non-stop, hardly any errors. That stood out, but there were many other games as well. Like Leeds, Warrington, Saints, Leeds, Wigan, Leeds. A lot of really good close games there was.
Yeah, and there was. I mean, we've had quite a lot of golden points this year. The London Leeds ones spring to mind. We've had quite a lot of them, which is good for the game. Good for the game. Right, last 2 questions. You've been on the field. What's the most brutal tackle that you've seen where even you as the ref winced at it because you thought, oh, that's a biggie?
The most brutal one I've been involved in a game?
As a referee, where you're like us, you're watching it and you're refereeing it and you've seen somebody proper poleaxe someone.
Dear me.
Any stick out?
I'd probably say I refereed St Helens Catalan and this year, and George Delaney was taking the ball from kickoff, and then Maria for Catalan putting a big hit, and like the players came in, but it was just a tackle live, which was just a huge hit, really. So yeah, that's one which I was a bit taken aback on.
Happy that you made the switch to refereeing, and then the last one before we wrap it up. Try. What try as an official where you've been a part of it and a try's got in and you thought, yeah, that's class?
Well, there's been so many I've been involved in, but there was, I'd probably say the one which was the most acrobatic, and I couldn't believe he kind of got it down, was Liam Marshall's try. It was Wigan v Lee.
Yeah, in the corner.
In the corner. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Where he's on a trampoline?
Where he's on a trampoline, yeah. And live, I was thinking, I've seen the ball grounded here, but and then checked it, and you're looking at it on the screen thinking, I don't know if he's got that ball down. So, yeah, that was the one which took me by surprise the most.
Well, he's been on this, and I actually sent him a message where I want to go and check the field for a trampoline in that corner because, like you, I was like, how on earth has he sprung and got that down? But I mean, wingers in general. I mean, the skills of wingers now, it's frightening, isn't it, in terms of what they can do on those edges.
Just every week, you're seeing it for every club's just got so much talent on, on the finishing out wide. And yeah, it's nice that you've got a video ref on every game for a lot of them because they're just they're so good to watch live though.
Absolutely. So there you go, and in conversation with the first referee we've ever had on In Conversation. There you go. Aaron Moore is a human being. Who'd have thought that? I hope you've enjoyed listening to Aaron. There's no doubt about it, mate. Brilliant interview. I think there's a lot of people who'll be watching this going, yeah, what a proper guy. And hopefully that makes your life a little bit easier in 2025. Go well. We'd love nothing more for you to get some of those big dances in the future. And yeah, it's been an absolute privilege having you on In Conversation. Aaron Moore, thanks for being our guest.
Thank you, David.